Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Darkest Timeline. And unfortunately, I do have to say that this is a dark episode. It starts out dark. It gets a lot lighter as it goes on, but unfortunately, the first 20 minutes are a little dark. We've had a loss. So I honoured the loss that we had in the way that I know how to, and unfortunately it's a little bit sad. So if you're not in the mood for something sad, skip this one for about 20 minutes. And there you go. Other than that, we're talking the road trip and all of the different stops on our road trip. A couple of TV items, no movie I'm afraid, and then a lot of game talk, some real talk for the game talk. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review, I can leave a review. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. Yeah, okay, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline. Oh, how you doing? You well? Good week, good day, good time, good life experiences. I hope things are good. I hope you're doing well. I hope that if you're not good and things aren't going well, that you are able to reach out to us here at the podcast. We will talk to you. Reach out to friends, family and loved ones. They will surely talk to you and help you. And failing that, there are obviously services out there who will help you. This is one of those rare occasions where I have to start a podcast with revealing that I'm not okay. I'm not okay at the moment. I don't know if people are the people that tune in weekly or they listen months down the line. Obviously, I'm an avid podcast listener and I listen to podcasts as much as I can, but it can often be a few weeks before I get to a podcast of a particular type. So if something happens, it could have been missed. However, if you do listen along at a semi-regular rate, you'll know that over the last few weeks there's been a variety of different things going on in our house, in and around with our pets. And we had to make one of those decisions. One of our cats has been very poorly for a while at this point. So, you just keep chugging away with that one. And then our other cat was like, well, why does he get to go to the vet? I want to go to the vet. I like going to the vet. Okay, I've got this lump on my leg. And he got to go to the vets. And he was really happy about it. He got treats and all that good stuff. And he was all happy. Unfortunately, tests that were done the results of those tests were not what you would hope for. And it was like, oh, okay, well, the best thing is probably going to be to remove the lump. So let's get that booked in and sorted, and then we can take it from there. And there's that part of me that wants to say, I knew. And I kind of did know. I think I was preparing myself. I kept saying things to him, which in one sense, they maybe weren't overly nice things, in the sense of, oh, how are you gonna cope? How are you gonna cope when they have to take one of your legs away? How are you gonna learn to walk with one leg? And that was obviously me preparing myself that was not only a possibility. I thought it was quite likely. And I'd say to him, you've got to stop eating plastic, because plastic has got carcinogens in it, and that's why you've got cancer, because you eat all the plastic you can find. And that was a way for me to deal with the fact that I thought that there was quite a high chance that they were going to say that was the case. And I was just preparing myself, and there was a part of me that knew. There was a part of me that knew that he was going to go, and it was going to be bad, and it was going to be too bad, and I knew. And then there's that part of me that's like, he's fine. It's just a fatty lump. He's just a numpty that loves the attention, and he doesn't like being left out. And the other one's at the vet's all the time because of his stomach issues, and it's just, he'll be fine. He's being silly. But the lump had doubled in size. And that's, you kind of know with something like that. You kind of know what it is and why it is, and you can tell yourself a multitude of things, but there's few reasons for it. And morning of, there was this situation where he was laid in the bed with Leanne, in a way I've never seen him, just laid with her. And I took some pictures, and I was like, I've never really seen him like that. I took these pictures, and they were really nice. But again, I kind of knew that those pictures were significant. And then he went, and he was going out the door, and I gave him a kiss on the head, and I said, you go careful, you'll be all right, and all this. And there was a part of me that knew. There was a part of me that knew that was probably it. And there was so much other stuff going on. We had the older kids coming, and I was fretting about what we had going on for the few days that they were going to be here, and it was kind of like, I can't think about that right now because I need to be thinking about this. That was kind of my way of distracting myself. And I was like, we'll just get a phone call in a bit saying to come and collect him, and it'll be, worry for nothing. But I knew. And the vet's phoned, and yeah, it was what I thought. The lump was bad, and they found another one, and they were going to have to take his leg, and they said the chances of him dealing with it and recovering from that were, one thing, but he was going to have chemo and dealing with the leg, and the fact that he'd have to have chemo, and the fact that it had spread, and the fact that it was obviously quite aggressive, and it all pointed in a particular direction, and that was that. And Leanne was absolutely devastated, and she was like, "I'm gonna have to phone you back. I can't deal with this. I need to phone you back." And they were like, "We need to know. Like, he's asleep right now, so he won't know. So we kind of need to know, though." So she came off the phone. She was devastated. And I had this thing where I was like, nobody deals well with certain things. I'm probably one of the worst for dealing with something like this sort of thing. You know, I just can't. It's who I am. It's how I'm made up. I can't do certain things. So I had this whole, like, I had all the kids here, but I wanted to be on my own. But something needed doing, and a decision needed making. And I was saying, you know, me and Leanne started talking, and we both knew what the answer was. There was no question, because he was going to be uncomfortable and in pain, and he was going to lose a leg as a minimum. Chances are it was going to be an awful time for him from that point on, and he was going to have one less leg, and all of that. And I was like, there was a point where I was like, right, I have to be the strong one in this, because she's a mess. She's not coping. My eldest was upset. The others were off playing. And I was like, right, do you need me to phone them to let them know? She was like, no, I need to do it. And I was like, okay. So she phoned, and through being very upset, she managed to tell them. And they were like, right, okay. And there was stuff about, like, arrangements for afterwards, and how they go about doing it, and what would be best, and they'll be in touch. And the vet was like, I couldn't say anything on the phone before, but I can tell you now that you've made the decision. It is the right decision. You've made the right decision. This is the best thing for him. I can't lead you in a particular direction, but this is the right thing. It's the best thing for him. And in some ways, you've got that kind of, that's kind of a comfort, because you wouldn't want to be like, oh, he'll be all right. You take his leg and we'll be fine. And the vet being like, you're making the wrong decision, but then they have to follow through on that. So it was helpful to me to know that that's what the vet thought. And that's it. And he's gone. And I know he was a cat. And I know, you know, there's one group of people who be like, fucking hell, it's a cat, won't worry. And there's another group of people like, oh my God, it's devastating and it must be awful. And I know that I'm in both camps. It's tough. It's tough for Leanne, because she was his everything. He loved her more than he loved food or anything. He loved that woman more than anything has ever loved anything else. He loved her more than anything in this world. He was her first baby, because even though we've got, you know, that we got two of them at the same time, they're brothers. He was the baby. He always needed more. And it's 5 days later, and it's still not right. I decided I was going to be the strong one, and I was going to help everyone through it. My eldest was really struggling with it, and I was like, look, it's for the best. He was going to be in pain. You don't want him to be in pain. You don't want him to suffer through that. You don't know how he would cope. You don't know that he wasn't already in pain. And I went through all of that, and she seemed to sort of perk up from it, and she had a bit of a lull at one point, but she sort of came back around, and I think she sort of came to terms with it. But there's been points where Leanne's been worse, where she's like, I think we made the wrong decision. And I'm like, we didn't. And she's like, but he was all on his own and he thought he was coming home and I thought he was coming home. And I just didn't believe that he wasn't going to come home. And I was like, I knew. And, you know, you can say I knew, but I know he was a cat, but he meant a lot to us. He came to our lives. Him and his brother came to our lives at the worst time. We were both, me especially, I was going through one of the worst times of my entire life, and we got these little kittens, and they helped us. And for me, the other one, he is my guy. He supported me through, like I say, one of the most difficult times of my life. And we've got the dog. But the last couple of years, I really tried with the one that has gone. I really wanted us to be friends. So I really tried with him, and then over the last few months, we sort of crossed over this barrier where he would come and sit on my chest on an evening, and he would push his head up to my face to make sure that I'd give him kisses on his head. And then he would just sit there and let me stroke him, and he liked little butt scratches, and you scritch his butt and you rub his head at the same time. And he was in absolute hog heaven. But as I always said, he only ever did it to make Leanne jealous. But I still think that we had a little, towards the end, the last couple of years, and certainly the last few months, we really had a bond, and I decided to be the strong one. I was going to be the strong one and get us all through this. And that's lasted the last few days. And then this evening, I've been in a fucking state. I keep looking for him in all of his little hiding places, and the cat that we've got left has decided that he's going to be a dick about literally everything. This has been going on for a while, since he's had these like stomach problems and stuff. He's just, after he went to the vet the first time and they shaved his neck, he's just been a dick ever since. So we've got that situation. I think the dog's depressed because the dog and the cat were friends. Not like, they weren't exactly going to curl up next to each other, but they'd sit next to each other. They spent a lot of time together, and as long as they had like a little bit of distance between them, they just sort of chilled out, hung out. And the dog desperately wanted him to be his friend. He just wanted him to be his friend. That's all he cared about. But he couldn't communicate that properly, and he really tried, but sometimes he got a bit like he'd try and stroke him, but he's got like these giant paws in comparison to a cat. So it just ended up being is like he was hitting him, and the cat's like, "Fucking hell are you doing?" He's like, "I want to be your friend. I want you to be my friend." And there were points like you'd catch them every now and then having a little kiss through the gate and stuff. And I think they were friends, and the dog's he's just fucking depressed. The other cat's like, where's that one that I bully all the time? Where's that one that I beat up all the time? Where is he? Why isn't he here? That's about that. But the dog's like, where's my mate? And I barely see him. Like, I barely see the dog now. There are times when I'm like, oh, I've got to let the dog out to go to the toilet before I go to bed, and he'll turn up, and I'm like, I forgot you lived here. Even though I knew I had to let him out, he turns up, and it's like the first time I've seen him all day, and I'm like, where have you been? And he's just laying, sad. So yeah, I'm not doing well at the moment. I miss him. I miss him a lot. I miss him a lot this evening. Yeah. He was my little buddy at the end. Try and brighten things a little. The road trip finally took place. It finally happened. Got my daughters to pack bags. My son was staying, and Liam was staying at home for a couple of reasons. Obviously, one of them was the cat was supposed to be having a post-op checkup. So that's why they weren't coming. And there's the dog and the other cat to worry about. My son also didn't think it was fair to stick him in the car for 6 to 8 hours. And Leanne can't do car journeys like that. Leanne struggles on a half-hour car journey if the road's windy. So I've got the girls to pack bags with many, many, many different items in. And then I broke it to them that they were getting up at 5:30 in the morning, which got a much better reaction than I thought it would. So at 5:30 I got them up. I'd got up and showered and was ready to go. Car was packed. I got them all up at 5:30 and out the door we went. So we drove all the way through to Alnwick. Got there at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's not even true. We got there at 8:30 in the morning. One small problem. Turns out Alnwick Castle's opening hours are seasonal, and they don't necessarily update their opening times. So when they put 9 o'clock on the internet, yeah, it can be 10 o'clock sometimes, like it was on that day. So we arrived an hour and a half early. As it was, that was fine. They needed breakfast, which we'd taken, but I was like, if we can wander off and find a shop that's going to, get something nice and fresh. We went off, found a local supermarket who had a extensive bakery section as well as other items. So we just got stuck right in. Got a load of pastries and cakes and all sorts of stuff for lunch, things like that. And that was that. And then we went to a bookshop. I should have looked it up really, or made a note of it. It's a bookshop. It's got a model train that runs through the middle of it. Somebody had told me about it, so I was like, oh yeah, I should see if we ever get the chance. And it turns out we had plenty of time, so we ended up wandering there. We wandered around there and we looked at the trains and the books, and that was good. Then we wandered back up and we went to Alnwick Castle. Alnwick Castle, fantastic. One of the famous things about it is it's where the some of the flying scenes from Harry Potter were filmed. So obviously, let's go and do some broomstick training, which was fun. Girls got to dress up as princesses. We did a dragon quest thing where you go through this place in the dark and there's all stuff about dragons. We listened to a talk about the how ink was made for and how paper was made and stuff like that. It was fascinating to me and my eldest. Don't think it was quite for the other two. But that was enjoyable. The only problem in being is with stuff like this, we lost an hour and we were on a time scale type thing. So we reached a point where I was like, I'm really sorry guys, but we need to go. Went to the gift shop. My middle daughter spent half of the money she took with her. Now, you might think, well, if she took 20 with her and she spent 10, yeah. But she didn't. She took a lot of money with her and she spent half of it in one go because she bought a oversized hoodie type thing. It was a Harry Potter one, and it was awesome. So I fully support it. I also paid for some of it for her. And my eldest got some jewellery. She got a necklace. Youngest daughter, nothing. She didn't find anything she wanted, which I thought was unusual. So in the car, and away we go. Half an hour down the road to Bamborough, to the castle. We go to the castle, we look at the castle, cool, but we're not there for the castle, because we've been to a castle. We're there for the beach. As a man who walks around in most weather, certainly when it's sunny, in sunglasses and a hat, I forgot to take sunglasses and a hat, and yeah, it was sunny, let me tell you. Now, I have emergency sunglasses pretty much anywhere I can get them, so I was covered on the sunglass front. However, the hat situation, I didn't have a hat, and I couldn't find a hat, obviously, so no hat. I'm like, meh, I've got sun cream on my arms, on my legs, on my face, and I'll be fine. More on that story later. So we go up to the castle, we look at the castle, and I was like, look, we're not going into the castle, but we are going to the beach. And obviously that was great, and I'd made sure that they brought swimming costumes and towels and the like. So off they went into the sea, and apparently, I'm reliably informed, it was fucking freezing. I think if my eldest daughter could have got away with saying that to me, she absolutely would have done. But she went, it's freezing. So the younger two are in swimming costumes and running up and down. They're in the water, they're out of the water, they're in the water, they're out of the water. My eldest just went in up to the ankles, I think. I didn't fucking bother. What's the point? Yeah, if you're there for a while, get your tootsies wet. If you're not, it's just faff. They wanted to come out of the water after not too long. I think there was we're cold. But they were quite happy to play in the sand. Now, I was up at 5. I'd already done 3 hours of driving, as well as about 10,000 steps at that point. I knew what I needed. So I found a lovely place to sit. I turned that lovely place to sit into somewhere to lie down. And I turned that lie down in somewhere to just close my eyes. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't even dozing. I just had my eyes closed. My eldest, on the other hand, absolutely spark out on the beach. Had to shake her awake, which was, I didn't think too much of this situation, but do you remember how I didn't take a hat? Pretty sure my top lip is sunburnt, and I got a wicked sunburn across the neck, so much so that later that day I had to buy some after sun. A hat probably wouldn't have changed that. Might have saved the lip. I feel like I've had, filler or whatever it is, Botox, whatever they do to make the duck face. But yeah, I feel like I've had that done because I'm a bit puffy in the lips. The neck calmed down. I think the after sun really did its job, and I was kind of happy about that. But yeah, the lip is bad. Looked at the time, looked at what we were getting messages. When are you coming? When are you arriving? Sort of thing. So, to the car, ice cream in hand, search for a toilet. I absolutely had to high five my eldest because when we were on the hunt for a toilet, her eagle eye went, I'm pretty sure people are going in a building over there, because we were at the end of our what the fuck do we do about a toilet? And I was like, you are right. People are going in a building over there. And then I looked, I was like, and there is a sign that says toilet. What a fucking legend you are. Over we went, had a little toilet stop, and then we jumped in the car. I was like, right, guys, no sleeping for the next 2 hours, because our journey could be up to 2 hours. It says an hour and a half, don't believe it. And off we went. We crossed the border into wee bonny Scotland. And off we went to Edinburgh. My middle daughter could not fulfill the not sleeping. I had to do what I do with my son pretty much every Wednesday, where I just shout into the back of the car, are you awake? I just kept saying, do not go to sleep. She just ignored me. We arrived in Edinburgh, and if I'm honest, found our hotel relatively easy. Sat-nav took us to the door. I had to do a U-turn at one point. Got parked in the car park, which was a challenge, but we made it in the end. Checked in, and the guy was like, right, I'll take you to your room. I was like, lovely, thank you. And he took us out the back, down a flight of stairs, out a door, and then outside. And I'm like, okay. Now, when we parked the car, there was like a little house in the garden. And I'm like, what the hell's this? And it was like, oh, this is for guests only, conservatory, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. Turns out, that's where we're heading. We're heading to this small building. It's like a mini, it's like a house. We go in through a couple of doors, and then we go into a room, and he's like, here's your room. There you go. And I'm like, lovely, thank you very much. See you later. And then I go, there aren't enough beds. I'm texting Leanne. There aren't enough beds. She was like, check the sofa. I was like, yeah, we found the sofa moves in some weird way. She was like, it's definitely a bed. So we kept on it and managed to transform the sofa into a bed. I'm like, there we go. We've got all these beds. Wonderful stuff. I was like, obviously, I've driven for a long time. I'm an old man. I'm bigger than most of you put together. So I'm eldest, like, on the sofa bed. I was like, cool. Thanks for that. In case you need to know, in case you're wondering, in case you're that way inclined, real lumpy right across where the hip was going to be. So I enjoyed that. So we're in the hotel. I'm like, right, let's go get the bags, get everything in that we need, and then let's hunt for food. So, bags in. Shall we unpack? No, it's not that kind of situation. Leave everything in your bags. We just need the bags in the room, and we're going to go and find some food. I had a little look. I think we'd driven past a place that seemed to have like a load of shops. One of those shops in a shopping centre was a Sainsbury's, and the shopping centre was open. All the shops were closed, apart from Sainsbury's. We go into Sainsbury's, and I'm like, look, I haven't eaten all day. I've done all this driving. I need fodder. You guys need something for tea, something for breakfast, maybe. I was like, let's do tea and breakfast now, and then we don't have to worry. So that's what we did. Also, on the way to Edinburgh, realised, hey, windscreen wash is empty. So I bought the big, 5-litre thing and a funnel. Little did I realise, it was, and I say this knowing what the reaction is, it was flavoured. Now I know what you're thinking. Don't you mean scented? It's cherry. And boy, do you know about it when you press for the windscreen wash. Jesus. It's the kind of one where you spray it and you're smelling it 2 days later. You're like, fucking hell. Anyway, back to the hotel. Everybody got fed up. No, something happened before this. I had a funny turn in the supermarket. Obviously, adrenaline, crash. Blood sugar, crash. Blood pressure, crash. I'm like, I think I'm about to pass out. Said to my eldest, I was like, I'm a little bit dizzy right now. And I managed to sort of get my faculties together, but then the shakes kicked in, and I was like, oh, fuck. I've got 3 kids, and I'm in the middle of a place we don't know. I need to get them back. So got outside the Sainsbury's, chugged a protein shake. I was like, this will give me enough to get us back to the hotel, which it did. Fantastic stuff. Went out, filled the windscreen wash, did all of that, got them all sorted. I was like, look, guys, it's real late as it is, but let's get tea done, essentially. And everybody gets changed for bed, teeth brushed, all of that, and then you little guys get in bed, put your eye masks on and your earplugs in, and then you'll probably just drift off. And I said to my eldest, I was like, me and you can put something on for a little bit, and then you need to go to bed, and then I'll just sit for a bit and I'll go to bed. And that was pretty much as it worked. Little guys went to bed a bit later than I'd liked, but I needed them to sleep, so I was like, look, put your eye masks on and go to sleep. Me and my eldest sat for about half an hour, and then I was like, look, you should probably go to bed as well. And then I fell asleep in the chair I was sat in, and then forced myself to go to bed. where I got nice and comfy on the sofa bed with the lumpy middle pressing into the hip. Knew it was going to be a fantastic night. Turned the light off, rolled over to go to sleep, and this was the point where I was painfully reminded that my youngest daughter grinds her teeth in her sleep. Not gonna lie, there was a couple of points where I thought, I think they'd let me off if I just slid that pillow over her, just. I think they'd understand. I think they'd be like, it's fine, don't worry about it. Anyway, jamming my finger in my ear and lying on the other very firmly apparently did the job, because the next thing I know, it's morning. We get up, straight on to breakfast. I shower and we're out the door, and I'm like, right, we got to check out. We're going to be in Edinburgh, which is 2 miles away, parked, and to our appointment that we had booked for 10 o'clock, and it is 9 whatever at this point in time. So by the time we got parked, it was 9:25. We had to be there at 10, and we had a 30-minute walk. I was like, fuck, let's get a move on. As it was, we got there 10 minutes early, and we went in to, and I can't even believe I'm going to say this, we went into Cuppa Pug. Now, if you're like anybody I've spoken to recently, you're going to say this. Is that like a cat cafe, but with pugs? Yes. Yes, it is. For 1 hour, and by 1 hour, I of course mean 40 minutes, we got to play with pugs, feed pugs, give them treats, carrots, training treats, ice cream, like dog ice cream, which is just whipped cream, put cups, and play with them, hold them. I took so many pictures and videos. It was fucking amazing. It was so good. Some of the dogs were just awesome. Was very tempted because there was one that was up for adoption, and I was like, it might not be the right time. The whole time we were there was a pug sat on the counter, like not part of the pug experience, and I was like, who's this guy? What's he doing? And he had a neckerchief on, and he was falling asleep on the counter, and you could tell clearly owned the place. And I was like, who's this guy? What's he all about? And they turned around and told me his name, and he had the same name as our cat who we'd had to let go 2 days before. And I was like, oh, and it was genuinely, it was like somebody dropped to one knee and punched me full force in the stomach. I was like, I need a minute. So I recovered from that, and that was that, and we left, and I was like, right, let's go get a drink. We went and got a drink. And we went to a supermarket, and we got more drinks and snacks and things like that. These are the little details I love about a road trip, where you just need something in your stomach so you're not hungry, and you need to be drinking enough water so that you're not dehydrated. Outside of that, it doesn't really matter. Do whatever you want. One point, my children had an ice cream before tea, because we were in a place where they could get an ice cream, but they were about to have their tea, and I was like, well, I'm not going to tell you you can't have an ice cream, and right now, it doesn't fucking matter. Loosey fucking goosey. So, we had 1 hour, so we were doing all the drinks and things, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, hey, remember how we had an hour to get to our next place? That was 35 minutes ago, and we're 15 minutes away, so let's get a fucking move on. Same again, we got the lead out and got there nice and early. And we went to the Camera Obscurum, which is literally outside Edinburgh Castle. Couldn't go to Edinburgh Castle, it was fully booked, which I told them, but we did go to Edinburgh Castle, where we basically walked the entire way around it. And I was like, right, we are going in here. Camera Obscurum has a big lens on the top of it, and you can look all the way around Edinburgh. 360 degrees and zoom into places 7 miles away and zoom into places outside their door. And it was very good and it was very interesting. I thought it was great. But other than that, it's 6 floors of optical illusions, little things you can do, little games you can play. Very sort of optical based. And I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was great. We went up and then we had to go up for this talk at the top. So we worked away right the way up to the top and then came down a few floors. And I was like, I'm really sorry, guys, but I was like, have you seen everything you need to? My youngest daughter was like, I want to do it again. I was like, I'm really sorry, but we've got to go. So it's going to take us 4 hours to get home. And even if we left now, which we're not, it'll be bedtime by the time we get home. So I'm really sorry, but we have to go and do our souvenir shopping. So we went into the gift shop. My eldest daughter, who's already had souvenirs of her trip, finds more things to buy. And I'm like, knock yourself out, it's your money. My middle daughter, who's already had her souvenir from her trip, finds herself stuff to buy. I'm like, it's your money, knock yourself out. My youngest daughter, who hasn't had anything up to that point apart from the memories, didn't find anything to buy, didn't find anything to get, and that was that. So we went out the door and I was like, look, we need to go to souvenir shops. We need to get a souvenir for your brother, and I needed to buy a souvenir for a friend. So out we go. We walk in through the door of the souvenir shop, and my youngest daughter's like, I'm getting that and that. And I was like, yes, you are, and I will buy them for you so that you've had a souvenir. Souvenirs purchased, back to the car. £30 for the privilege to park for, I don't know, 4 hours or something, maybe 5 hours if that. £30. But fuck it, we're on holiday, eh? In the car, out the door, and away we go. And we did 130 miles before finding somewhere to stop, which is where they had an ice cream. Well, most of them had an ice cream. And I got to stretch my legs. And they got some, I want to say crisps. That rings a bell. And we basically had like a snack. I had stuff to eat because I was like, I can't eat too soon. So I had stuff to eat, like a lunch or a tea or whatever it was, just some food. And I was like, right, got back in the car. We had 71 miles left. And we just plain sailed it all the way back. And I will say this, now that we are back and we've done that journey, what a fucking dream journey. What an absolute dream. A19 for like 100 miles or something, and then A1 for, I think it might have been like A19 for 150 miles and then A1. I have done the journey before, but in a different way, without the stops. The stops certainly helped, and especially getting a little rest partway through, but what an absolute dream of a journey. I'd do it now. If you said to me, oh, you've left something, you're going to have to go and get it, I'd go now. It was an absolute delight of a journey. I said to the girls the night of staying in the hotel, I was like, look, it's not been cheap to do this. A lot of people have contributed to this. Leanne's paid for some. Grandad's paid for some. I've paid for some. But what I want is for us to start looking at making memories, and I want this to be something you remember for the rest of your lives. And I'd said to them, I was like, I hope what we do tomorrow could be considered the best thing you've ever done up to this point in your life. And a couple of them were like, you were right, this is the best thing I've ever done, and it will be the best thing I ever do for a long time. And I was like, good. That was my hope. We all got back unscathed. My eldest daughter had some little scratches from little pugs trying to get the ice cream from her. But other than that, that was that. Road trip completed. I'm already planning the next one. Next one should be super cool also. Because of that, Took a couple of days out of the situation. Also, the day before our trip was not the best day. And coming home and just having a bit of a rest day, not that much has been going on. I finished Series 2 of Devil May Cry. The last couple of episodes were great. The rest of the series, less so. So it ended well. I'm sure it'll get a third series. I do wonder how they're going to sort of go from here. I know how they've set it up, but there doesn't seem like a lot of road left to tread. And that's going to be a problem to do another series. Me and Leanne have been watching Young Sheldon. Series 2 finished, on to Series 3. It's been fine. A lot of the problems that I've had with watching it is I know more about it as a series. I know that like the characters that become more like the main character than Sheldon, and how they develop into being more like a main character. So it's, in a way, you just kind of waiting for them to sort of become more of a character. Season 3 started and you can already see certain character development happening. So, yeah, looking forward to that. No movies. Movies are a bit of a mute subject at the moment. I'm trying to finish a book so I can watch the film, if that makes any sense. And me and my eldest watched The Blues Brothers because she needed to watch something funny, but something she'd already seen. And I was like, that's fine, let's put that on. Computer games. Forza Horizon 6 still on the go. It's fine. It's very fine. It's not blowing my dick off, but I've kind of come to terms with that, and I'm just playing it. I'm just enjoying playing a bog standard racing game, because it really is like a racing game that's been stripped back. You can see that was their intention. That's what they were going for. In a world where racing games have really hit a peak, you can see a reason that they would maybe do a stripped down version. But was it the right move, is my question. I feel that it's fine and it's great, and it looks real nice, especially when I play it on my Super Whiz Bang computer. But it's not really giving me what I want. And my biggest issue is that I know that I've got the Crew Motorfest there just going, well, why don't you play me instead? I do give you everything. And I'm probably the same game, just better. And I'm a bit like, yeah, but I didn't pay 60 quid for you, so... Let me tell you about a fantastic game I'm playing. Batman Lego. Remember, before Batman Lego came out, people reviewed it as not only the best Lego game, but it is probably the best Batman game there's been. I agree with one of those statements. It is hands down the best Lego game that there has ever been. I think as a Lego game, it is the gold standard of Lego games. It's perfection where Lego games are concerned. They have hit the balance perfectly. As far as the best Batman game, I don't quite agree. There is a plus and a minus for this one. The plus is I am absolutely loving the way that they are stringing the Dark Knight, the Batman Legacy together. From the 66 Batman to 89 Batman to The Batman and Batman versus Superman. All those things that they're sort of piecing together. The Dark Knight stuff is yet to come at the moment, but we have had the intro to Batman the Animated Series, and I now have the Animated Series Batmobile. And I'm not going to lie, it made me a little emotional because obviously that is a series that means a huge amount to me. That is the version of Batman that means a massive amount to me personally. And seeing it being recreated, seeing that it's still so relevant even now, I got a little bit emotional. What I could do without is I wish they'd have made a decision about the funny, the goofy, the childlike stuff that they have to have in Lego games. And there's a part of me that wishes they hadn't done it. And that's a big part of me, as I'd like to play this without all of the, oh, that's funny, because it rarely is. And I know, it's for kids. It's like, is it though? 90% of the stuff that's in it, kids won't know. How many children nowadays know Batman the Animated Series? It was in the 90s. It's 30-something years old, 35 years old. It was in the 90s. 89 Batman. 36 years ago, 37 years ago. How many children know what that is? So try and tell me it's for kids. It's great. It's a great game. As I said, of all the games I'm playing at the moment, it's probably the best. And I really am enjoying it. My children also really enjoy it, so it's ticking a massive box in our house. On to games that are not as enjoyable as Lego Batman. 007 First Light. I don't believe that's the name. Oh, no, it is. It's right here in front of me. 007 First Light. So there you go. I was wrong. Yes, I have the Bond game. Played the training missions that went on way too long and realised, my word, they really want you to learn how to play this game, don't they? Turns out, apparently, there's a way you can skip the training mission at the start, the capture the flag bit, and I was like, yep, wish I'd have known that sooner. The training became too much. I didn't need all that training. I just wanted to play the game by that point. The game suffers horribly by being one of those games that goes, we've got a story to tell. You're like, all right, cool, that's nice. Yeah, you'll get to play in between the story bits, and you're like, right, okay. And then the game lets you loose, and it reminds you very quickly that it was made by the people that made Hitman, because it's just Hitman. They've removed a small tiny detail, whereas in Hitman you can pretty much do what you want. Yes, a lot of it is time dependent, especially the more recent ones, like this target is going to be in this place at this time, so you probably should work on the principle of being there at the same time. 007 works on the principle that it's so heavily scripted, you can only play it if you're in a certain place at a certain time, and if you're not in a place at a certain time, then the game's not going to progress. And although that makes sense, it's not like playing. I've seen some stuff online that talks about the game plays itself, because it's so heavily reliant on you being where you need to be when you need to be there, that it will kind of guide you in that direction whether you like it or not. Yet it will also put you in a situation where you have fights that you can't win. Not that you can't win, you just have too many opportunities to get the absolute snot beaten out of you, to the point that you die. The game has a parry system that, as far as I can tell, doesn't work. So you just have to take a load of punches to the face and then hope that you're still conscious to then hit them back when they've stopped hitting you in the face. It's odd. I really wanted it to be something else, and it isn't. And what it is, I think I don't want it to be. I did a car chase where it was like, yeah, whether you do it or we do it, yeah, it's all the same, isn't it? Like, no, it's not. I thought I was supposed to be playing this game. It's like, meh. Don't worry, there'll be a 10-minute cutscene in a minute. You can sit and do something else while that's on if you like. Cool, thanks. I will caveat this by saying I'm still probably very much at the beginning, and I'm a massive Hitman fan, so I'm hoping I can find something in this game, but we'll see. Here's a random one. Having been away for a few days, checked Steam, and Steam was like, hey, you like Into the Radius too, don't you? Well, guess what? There's an update. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And it's a beta. Well, hold on a minute. Why is there a beta for a game that's been released fully? It's in full release now. Oh, this is a beta for some of the stuff that we said that we were going to add to the game. I was like, oh, okay, well, let's beta the shit out of this, shall we? So there's me, off to the internet to get all the beta mods needed. And I go and I put the beta mods in the game, and I load the game up expecting the game to crash horribly because I put some mods on it, and it goes, nah, it's fine. And it's like, do you want to continue? Like, well, we're on a beta. It says across the bottom, beta. I presume I need to start a new game. It's like, no, you can continue if you like. Okay. I was like, I guess it's not worked. So into the game I go. To find out it is the beta, because now we have a shooting range. We also have machines that will automatically load your clips with bullets. Chef's kiss. The shooting range is cool. It works on different distances, so you can use like pistols and rifles and sniper rifles and things like that. Cool. But it's also got a kill room, so you run room to room shooting paper target, like cardboard target type things. That's a lot of fun. I very much enjoyed that. Even had to use night vision to get through the first floor. That was fun. I really enjoyed that. I need to go back and look at what they said has been updated. I think there were some changes to some missions and things, but I'm sure there were other things that had been added to the game. In your base, in your actual base, there is a hand machine where you can put a box of bullets on and a clip and push down and it'll load the clip for you. Kind of like the automatic machine, but the automatic machine does it for you. Here's what's interesting. I wondered how many of the mods I had on originally and that I'd switched to beta mods would work. The answer was all of them. Reason being is in the bottom right and the bottom left corner of the save screen, it informs me that mods are activated. And I think that's a new feature. Well, it is a new feature, but I think it's a feature that they are saying, as they have said in the past, that they're going to add and allow and maybe even support. So, while we're here, let's just have a look and see. If we go in here and into here and go in to see what the list is. How to join. Known issues. Kill house mode darker than intended. Okay. And the terrain is unintentionally illuminated. Okay. Walkie-talkies are currently in test mode to verify core functionality. Audio effects not found. Post effects might be missing during the tide event. During the credits, the skip speed control panel appears in front of the host but is visible to everyone. Okay. Major changes. Co-op facility. Added a shooting range. Added a stationary magazine loading device for faster reloading. Mimic Spec Ops can now use grenade launchers. Shit the bed. Improved endgame flow and added credits. Main fixes. They've fixed a load of stuff. And that is that. So yeah, a few bits and pieces that have been added to this beta. I don't know how long the beta is going to last. They usually last like a week or a couple of weeks, and then they just roll it out into new game. And as the game is in full release at this point, I presume we're just going to get all these things added, which is cool. My biggest gripe about betas is the beta looks so much better than the actual game. I feel like sending them a message and being like, here guys, can you explain to me why the beta always looks amazing? And then when it turns to the full game, you're like, why does it look so bad? But anyway, we'll see. There we go. I kind of feel like I should apologise for the first 20 minutes, but I did want to honour my little mate. and that's how I wanted to do it. So if it was upsetting, I am sorry, but it's been upsetting for all of us. So apologies. Right, there we go. Catch you next time. So there you go, what you think, sir. Apologies if it was upsetting for anybody at all. But like I said at the start, I did one-to-one of my little mate, so that was how I was going about that. Big thank you for watching, big thank you for listening, big thank you for being here. Before you leave us, do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That is it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
This is a Cookie Cast production.